I can't stop thinking about it, Mariam admitted. Just once more, please. We'll be careful, I promise. Her voice trembled with both fear and desperation. Before we dive into this story, please consider subscribing to my channel, turning on notifications, and letting me know where you're watching from in the comments. In the heart of Nairobi, two families lived side by side in a quiet neighborhood. The Wamboi family and the Odinga family were more than just neighbors. They were like one big family. The children, Amani and Mariam, were best friends. They were always seen together, laughing and playing under the bright Kenyan sun. At just 12 years old, they had already shared countless memories, from school projects to birthday parties, and even their secret dreams. Amani's mother, Mrs. Wamboi, had recently given him a new phone, hoping it would help him with his schoolwork. But for Amani and Mariam, the phone became something more. It became their secret window into a world they didn't understand but were desperate to explore. They spent hours together, scrolling through apps, watching videos, and playing games. The phone was their treasure, and they shared it in secret, away from the watchful eyes of their parents. One evening, while their mothers were out at the market, Amani turned to Mariam, a mischievous glint in his eyes. "Mariam, I found something interesting on my phone. Want to see?" Mariam's curiosity piqued. "What is it?" she asked, leaning closer. Amani grinned. "Just wait, I'll show you." They slipped quietly into Amani's room, the door creaking softly behind them. They sat down on the bed, the phone glowing between them. Amani opened the app and pressed play on a video. The screen came to life with strange, dramatic scenes. The characters spoke in low, serious tones. Their actions were mysterious, and though Amani and Mariam didn't fully understand what they were seeing, they couldn't look away. Mariam whispered, "What are they doing?" Amani shrugged. "I don't know, but it's kind of exciting." Before they could discuss it further, the gate of their compound creaked open. Amani's heart raced. "They're back," he whispered urgently, fumbling with the phone. The footsteps of their mothers grew louder. Mariam gasped, "Quick, turn it off!" But in his panic, Amani accidentally turned up the volume. The voices from the video filled the room. "Sure," Mariam hissed, her eyes wide. They scrambled to hide the phone, shoving it under the pillow just in time as their mothers knocked on the door. "Mariam, Amani, are you in there?" Mrs. Wamboi's voice echoed. The children froze. "We're just playing hide and seek," Amani called out, hoping his voice didn't betray his fear. Their mothers didn't suspect a thing. The children sighed with relief, but something had changed. That video had opened a door they couldn't easily close. They couldn't stop thinking about it. The next day after school, Amani and Mariam found themselves back in Amani's room, the phone between them once again. "Let's finish watching," Mariam said, her voice barely a whisper. The video played on, and though they still didn't understand everything they were seeing, they felt a strange thrill, a sense of excitement mixed with fear. They knew they shouldn't be watching it, but the pull was too strong. Days went by, and things began to change. Amani and Mariam grew quieter, more distant. They weren't the same carefree kids they used to be. They stopped playing outside, and their parents noticed. Mrs. Wamboi, concerned, asked Amani one evening, "Are you okay? You've been so quiet lately." "I'm fine, Mama," Amani replied, avoiding her gaze. He didn't want to admit that he was hiding something that was beginning to feel dangerous. Mariam, too, became withdrawn. Her mother, Mrs. Odinga, noticed her silence and asked, "Mariam, why aren't you outside playing with Amani?" "I just don't feel like it," Mariam replied, her voice flat. She didn't know how to explain the strange feeling inside her. The videos had changed something in her, and she didn't know how to stop it. Then, one afternoon, Mariam approached Amani at school. They were sitting under a large mango tree during lunch, both lost in their thoughts. Mariam's voice was low when she spoke. "Amani, I've been thinking. I want to watch that video again. I think I want to try what they were doing." Amani's heart skipped a beat. "Mariam, we promised we wouldn't," he said, his voice filled with uncertainty. He didn't want to do it again, but something in her eyes made it hard to say no. "I can't stop thinking about it," Mariam admitted. "Just once more, please. We'll be careful, I promise." Her voice trembled with both fear and desperation. Amani stared at her, torn. He knew it was wrong. He knew they should stop, but Mariam's pleading face made it hard to resist. "Okay," he said quietly. "Just once more, but that's it." Later that day, they waited until their mothers were busy talking outside. Amani and Mariam went to his room, locking the door behind them. Amani's hands shook as he pulled out his phone. The scene from the video flashed on the screen. It was strange, but the curiosity they had once tried to ignore was now overpowering. They tried to mimic what they had seen in the video, but things didn't go as planned. Mariam pulled away, a look of discomfort on her face. "It hurts," she whispered, her eyes welling with tears. Amani froze, guilt washing over him. "I'm sorry, Mariam. I didn't mean for this to happen." Mariam sat up slowly, her head hung low. She didn't know what to say, but the shame weighed heavy on her chest. She stood up, trying to shake off the feeling that something had been broken inside her. I think we should stop, she said quietly. I don't want to do this anymore. That night, as Mariam lay in bed, her thoughts swirled. The weight of what had happened pressed down on her chest. She wanted to tell her mother, but she didn't know how. She didn't know who would understand. Amani, too, lay awake in his bed, his mind replaying the events of the afternoon. Guilt gnawed at him. He had been so eager to explore something new, but now he realized how dangerous that curiosity had been. The next morning, Amani knocked softly on Mariam's door. She opened it, and without a word, they sat together in silence. Finally, Amani spoke, his voice barely a whisper. I'm sorry, Mariam, for everything. Mariam nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. It's not just your fault, Amani. I agreed to it too. But now, I don't know what to do. I don't want us to stop being friends, Amani said, his voice shaking. I don't want this secret to come between us. Mariam smiled weakly. Me neither. They had made a promise to stop, but they couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed between them. The secret they shared had drawn them closer, but it had also pushed them into a place they couldn't return from. They didn't know how to fix it, but they knew they couldn't go back to who they had been before. And so, the days passed, but the weight of their shared secret lingered. They tried to forget, to move on, but in their hearts, they both knew that some secrets are never fully buried.